So there she is, my new bike, a 2023 Kawasaki KLR650 S. And I wanted to just make a quick introductory video. I just picked this up yesterday and I've already put over 100 very enjoyable miles on it, cruising the country roads out here by my new house. So as you probably know if you've watched any of my videos, I had a 2021 Kawasaki KLX300. I've had that for a little over 2 years. Loved that bike. It was a really great all-around dual sport. I put about 5,000 miles on that bike, really enjoyed it the entire time I had it. I decided to sell it recently, not because I was unhappy with it or I had any problems with it. It was because I went through a really huge life change and my riding needs changed with that life change. So last winter, unfortunately, I went through a divorce and I went from being married with 2 young stepchildren to finding myself unexpectedly single again with a lot more free time on my hands. And once that happened, I began to realize I kind of want to start riding longer distances, doing much longer rides than I had been for the last couple of years on my KLX300. And that inevitably led me to the KLR. So I am just an average guy as far as my income goes. I can't really afford more than one bike, or I would have loved to keep the KLX300 and add a KLR to my garage, but I can't really afford to insure and maintain and pay for multiple bikes. So I sold the KLX300 and bought this KLR650 S. So why did I pick this particular bike in this beautiful pearl storm gray color? It's kind of similar to the Sonic Gray Pearl of my 2022 Honda Ridgeline RTLE. It's a little bit darker gray. It doesn't have the little bit of a blue tinge that my truck has, but I really love this color. It's actually more similar to the Jeep Sting Gray color. Why did I choose this particular bike? Well, I got multiple quotes from several dealers, and it just so happened that my local dealer ended up giving me the best price. It was about $700 lower than the next best quote that I got. And I had to choose between this bike, the gray S model, and a yellow standard KLR. Both are non-ABS base models. And I sat on both, and I actually did have the opportunity to ride a regular KLR before I bought this one. And I am 6'1", but I have very short legs, probably about a 30.5 or 31-inch inseam, and I could barely touch at stop signs and stoplights on the regular KLR. And when I sat on this one, I could put my feet flat on the ground. I was just so much more comfortable on this bike. And I also liked this gray color a lot better than the yellow color of the regular KLR. So it was a hard decision for me, but I ended up choosing this one over the yellow one. So in one of my first videos of this year, I mentioned that my little brother, he had purchased a 2022 KLR650 Adventure. And unfortunately, 2023 has been a really difficult year for him as well. I went through my divorce over the winter, and then his wife got very sick this year, and that is why I have not been making any videos about his bike. He has hardly been able to ride at all because of his wife's illness. So my intentions were to make a series of videos about his bike, but that has not come to pass. But on a positive note, she is well on the way to recovery, and she's doing really well right now. She's even back to work, and hopefully that means I get to start riding with my brother. And riding with him, I think, on my new KLR will be a more pleasant experience. I rode a couple of times with him on my KLX300, and he just would leave me in the dust every time we would turn a corner and accelerate from stop signs or red lights. He would just disappear in the distance on his KLR as I frantically tried to keep up on my KLX300. So riding with him on this bike obviously will be much more pleasant experience, I think. So I'm really looking forward to getting out and getting on some really long rides with him. He's got some time off of work coming up here shortly, so I'm really looking forward to riding with him. But I had intentions to make a series of videos about his KLR. Well, I guess I don't really need to do that anymore because I have my own KLR to make videos about now. I'm not going to really do many modifications to this bike right away, other than I bought a Caribou Cases top case for the rear rack on this bike. I'm really excited about that. I ordered it a couple of days ago. It should be here today. I'll put that on today. I'll be able to carry drinks, food, fishing stuff, camping stuff on this bike. I'll even be able to run to the store for, to grab bread and milk and things like that rather than taking my truck. So I think, just adding that top case is going to really make this bike so much more useful than it is stock. And I feel like this Caribou case, at least from what I've read, it's just much tougher, higher quality than the Kawasaki cases are. And anyway, the Kawasaki cases seem to be sold out at most websites. So I guess that about does it for my introductory video of my new 2023 Kawasaki KLR650 S. My first 100 or so miles on this bike were an absolute pleasure. I absolutely love the seating position, the wind protection, all the really high torque numbers. You don't need to rev this bike out. You just short shift it through the 5 gears. It cruises at 60 miles per hour so wonderfully and just eats up the miles. And I can't wait to put a ton more miles on this bike and share some of my adventures with you all. And thanks so much for watching this, and stay tuned for more videos about my new bike.